They tried to talk over her, question her tone, and steer the conversation. But when Jasmine Crockett spoke, the audience turned, and the show lost control in real time. It was just after 9 a.m. in Manhattan Beach Studios, where The View filmed that morning's live broadcast. The crew moved like clockwork, prepping segments, checking lighting, sipping lukewarm coffee. No one paid much attention to the quiet woman sitting in the green room. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. She scrolled through her notes with one hand, phone face down on the table beside her. Her team had warned her. The producers weren't just inviting her to talk. They were baiting a moment. Still, Jasmine didn't flinch. She'd been in tougher rooms. Congressional hearings, primetime interviews, policy briefings packed with cameras, and bad faith questions. But this felt like something else. Not because she was scared, because she wasn't. And that she knew made people nervous. A production assistant peeked in with a clipboard and a forced smile. "They're ready for you in about 5. Jasmine nodded once and stood smoothing the hem of her cobalt blue blazer. She didn't bring an entourage, no stylist, no comms director pacing beside her. Just her voice and the years she'd spent sharpening it. In the hallway leading to the studio floor, she passed by a mirror. She paused briefly, not to check her makeup, but to center herself. She inhaled slowly, remembering the viral clip from 2 weeks ago. Some congressman mocking her hair during a budget session. The same clip that sparked the invite to The View. They didn't say it outright, but she knew what this segment was supposed to be. A spectacle. They want ratings. Her chief of staff had told her on the phone the night before. They don't care what you say, Jazz. They just want to watch you react. Jasmine had smiled at that. Then they're going to be disappointed. The studio was colder than she expected. Lights overhead, multiple cameras locked in. For hosts already seated at the table, flipping cards, rechecking their notes. Joy gave her a smile that didn't quite reach the eyes. Sunny looked distracted. Alyssa whispered something to Anna, who tilted her head and smirked. As Jasmine approached the panel, the producers' voices came through the studio headsets. 30 seconds. Cue intro music in 5. A stylist rushed by and offered a dab of powder. Jasmine waved it off. She didn't care if she looked glossy. She cared if they heard her. Behind the cameras, the live studio audience was still settling. Phones tucked away. Light applause on cue. Then, theme music. Applause. Joy turned to face the camera, her practiced voice taking control. Good morning and welcome back to The View. Today we're joined by Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, a rising voice on Capitol Hill and someone who's made headlines recently for her passionate floor speeches and, well, her style. The audience chuckled politely. Jasmine smiled but didn't speak yet. Joy continued, "We've got a lot to talk about. Budgets, decorum, and that now infamous committee moment. Congresswoman, thank you for being here." Jasmine leaned forward slightly, voice clear but relaxed. "Thanks for having me. Glad to be here." The first few questions were softballs. How did she feel about being a freshman congresswoman? What motivated her to run? Jasmine answered with grace, giving the audience a glimpse into her background, Southern roots, law school, and a passion for defending people the system ignored. But the tone started shifting when Anna asked, "Do you ever worry that your tone overshadows your message?" That word again, tone. A word used when people didn't like how direct she was, or when her truth made them uncomfortable. Jasmine raised an eyebrow, but didn't respond just yet. She glanced briefly at the live audience. Some leaned forward, others sat stiffly, waiting. This wasn't going to be a polite chat. It was about to get real, and Jasmine knew this was the exact moment they'd been hoping for. But what they didn't count on was that she came ready to flip the script. The applause died down as the panel shifted in their seats, smiles still painted on, but now tighter, more calculated. The camera panned across the table, settling again on Jasmine. She kept her posture open, one hand resting on the table, the other lightly tapping her pen against her notepad. Alyssa was the first to throw something with weight. "You've become quite a lightning rod on social media," she said, adjusting her blazer. "Your exchange with Congressman Daniels got millions of views. Some praised you. Others said you were aggressive. Do you think tone matters when you're trying to reach across the aisle?" There it was again. Jasmine glanced at her, her face unreadable. "You mean when I asked why his district gets to block education funding while mine's fighting to keep schools open? That clip?" Anna chimed in, her voice sweet but clipped. "No one's questioning the issues you bring up, just how they're delivered. Some viewers feel it's confrontational." Jasmine let that word sit in the air. She'd heard it 100 different ways in her life. Assertive, loud, too much, passionate, all code for one thing. "I get that a lot," Jasmine said finally, nodding. "But it's funny how men can yell in hearings and no one calls them emotional. I raised my voice once to clarify a point and suddenly it's about how I made people feel instead of what I actually said." The audience reacted, low murmurs, scattered clapping. Sunny shifted in her seat, trying to refocus. "We've all seen what it's like for women in politics and women of color especially. But don't you think decorum has its place?" Jasmine turned slightly toward her. "You know what else has its place? Respect. But I've seen folks more worried about tone than truth. And I think that says more about them than it does about me." That landed. One audience member clapped before quickly stopping, unsure if it was appropriate. Joy tried to steer things back to the outline. "Let's talk about legislation. You pushed back hard against the proposed budget cuts. You even called them deliberate sabotage. Do you still stand by that?" Jasmine didn't hesitate. "Absolutely. They cut child care, housing support, public health. Then they turn around and say we're being irresponsible. It's not just sabotage. It's a game they don't expect us to know the rules to, but I do." Anna raised an eyebrow. "Is that really fair? Is it fair to ask working mothers to choose between insulin and rent?" Jasmine shot back. The temperature shifted again. Polite laughter from earlier had vanished. Even the audience leaned in, some with arms crossed, others glued to her every word. There was a flicker of something in Alyssa's expression. Not offense, not agreement either, more like recognition. Sunny, still trying to keep the panel balanced, asked, "So, what do you say to voters who feel like you're not building bridges, but burning them?" "I say maybe those bridges were one-sided to begin with," Jasmine said evenly. "And I'm not in Congress to make people comfortable. I'm there to represent people who've been uncomfortable for decades." Another burst of clapping, this time stronger. A few heads in the audience nodded. Even the camera angle shifted as if to capture it. Joy leaned back, now clearly measuring her next move. "You're making headlines, no doubt, but critics say you're feeding division. What would you say to them if they were sitting here?" Jasmine gave the smallest smile of the morning. "I'd say, if you're more upset by my tone than the truth I'm telling, that says everything." The audience erupted, clapping, whistling, even a few standing. And for a second, the panel looked stunned, as if someone had pulled the rug out, and they weren't sure who was supposed to be in charge anymore. But the show had just started, and Jasmine wasn't backing down now. The moment Jasmine said it, "If you're more upset by my tone than the truth I'm telling, that says everything." Time stretched. Not in a dramatic movie-like way. It just paused. The kind of pause that makes even the background hum of lights feel louder. Jasmine didn't flinch. She didn't smile or smirk. She let the words breathe. The reaction came in layers. The first was the audience. A beat of stunned silence, then applause, not just polite clapping, real gut-level support. Someone near the front row let out a "that's right," while others followed with scattered whistles and cheers. The hosts weren't ready for it. Anna blinked, then looked at Joy. Joy was trying to keep her face neutral, but even she seemed caught off guard by how hard that one sentence landed. Sunny leaned forward slightly, arms folded now. Okay, but Jasmine, don't you think that kind of framing oversimplifies things? There's more to the conversation than just tone versus truth. Jasmine didn't even shift. It's not framing, it's experience. When I walk into a room and speak up, there's an automatic adjustment happening. People hear volume where I gave clarity. They hear aggression where I gave facts, and that tells me exactly who's listening and who's just reacting. The studio was locked in. Nobody coughed. Nobody whispered. Even the producers behind the cameras had stopped signaling. Then Alyssa tried to pivot. Sure, but some would argue the truth isn't always that simple either. I mean, we all operate from different realities. Don't you think there's a danger in assuming moral superiority? Jasmine tilted her head. You know what's dangerous? Pretending we all start from the same place. Because when someone says both sides, I always ask both sides of what? One of us is fighting to keep people housed and breathing. The other is worried about keeping donors happy. A few MS rumbled from the audience. Anna raised a hand trying to regain balance. I think what Alyssa is trying to say is maybe tone does matter. People disengage when they feel attacked.